And you always hear, oh, be a damsel in distress and cry. They'll think that you're not emotionally stable and they'll excuse it. And I see this. Hello, my loves. This is Ro. Welcome back. I just saw this video that struck a chord with me. I had other videos that I wanted to make, but I saw this and I figured I wanted to include this in a video and talk to you guys about my emotions as I saw this. So this came through my email in a newsletter, and it is a video about this kid whose father is no longer with us. I have to choose my words a little bit carefully because certain words trip the algorithm. So his father is no longer with us, and the person who's responsible for his father no longer being with us was going up for sentencing in court. And when his father's person who was up on the stand, the son rushed the stand and attacked him. And I'm going to include the video right here for you guys before we discuss it further.
You guys,
When I saw that video, I will be completely honest with you, my thought was, I don't know if I would have behaved any differently. I've never been in that situation. I would hope that I wouldn't, but what if that was my father? What if that was one of my siblings? What if that was one of my nieces or nephews, Adam, somebody that I truly love with my whole entire heart, one of my best friends? I don't know how I would react because I've never done that. And then the thoughts kind of started to process. And it brought me back to this time a couple of years ago when I was up for jury duty. In New Jersey, it's very interesting. So they brought us all into this huge room, jam-packed full of people. It's very similar to going to jail, believe it or not. So you go to the municipal building in your county. So I had to drive, I had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be there by 8 or 9 because I had to beat rush hour traffic. It's 45 minutes away because it's a big county that I live in, and I live in one end of it. They're actually trying to change the town that I live to a different county. So at this point, I get up early, I drive there, I park the car. It's in not the best area. I walk to the courthouse, I wait in this long line. They process it through the metal detector. They check our bags and they bring us into this huge room. It's actually a beautiful building. Then they bring us into the courtroom and they have us all sit there and they tell us all of the rules. You're not allowed to have your cell phone on during court or during any of the procedures. If you're in the waiting room waiting to be called, to be seen by a judge to see if you're going to get on a case, that screening part, then you're allowed to be on your any kind of a device. Other than that, phone has to be off, iPad has to be off, anything else has to be off, books have to be away. They told us what time we needed to be there. They told us what time we were going to be there until they told us what time our lunch break would be, and then they dismissed us. We had this little card and we had to go to our designated areas. So they sent us all up to this waiting type room that was just rows of chairs. There was a little glass enclosed room where I guess they were bailiffs, where the people that worked there sat, and people would come and bring their excusal notes to them through this little window. And then there were kind of TVs up front, and I don't even know actually, I don't remember if there were TVs, maybe not, but I actually had my iPod at the time, and this was way back when I first became friendly with Michael Santos, and I was getting ready to do his podcast. So I wanted to make sure I was really familiar with him. So I had my iPod, it was perfect timing, and I listened to, back then it was called Earning Freedom, Michael Santos's podcast, and now his podcast, he works with Justin Paperny and Sean Hopwood, all my very good friends, and their organization is now called Prison Professors. They've all since then joined forces, but that's what I listened to the whole entire time, totally entertained. And I met this woman who was a little bit crazy. I like the underdogs. I like to help people. And she was telling me all about her crazy sex life and it was insane. And this one guy was jealous of this other guy, and I kind of took her under my wing because she said to me, the last time I was here, I didn't understand the questions the judge was asking me, and I got really scared. So I kind of talked her through it. I said, listen, I said, just answer them in the best way you know how. There's no right or wrong. Don't let the judge intimidate you. And you could tell she was genuinely nervous. I think she had a little bit of a problem. So I took her with me. I can't remember. Oh, they gave us a dismissal, a break for a snack. It was in between when we got there and lunch. It wasn't quite lunch. So I took her downstairs with me. We got coffee. We got a snack. We came back upstairs, and she was talking to me, telling me all about her crazy excursions. And they called her number, and she looked at me petrified. I said, you're going to be fine. Just follow everybody there. Talk to one of the bailiffs. They will take care of you. And she got excused later. I saw her around lunch. So I was on my own. And then maybe an hour or two later, they called my number. I was like, because if they don't call your number, then you're excused. You're excused for 3 years. So I had to go into a courtroom. The attorneys were calling us up one by one. And when your number or your name was called, you went where the jury sat, and then the attorneys had a chance to ask you questions to see if they wanted to select you for jury. And if you had an excuse, a reason why you felt like you should be excused, you were either allowed to state it right then and there from that little jury box, or you could ask the judge to sidebar, and he would meet you. He would come out of his, what is it called, judge's stand? I don't even know what it's called. It's terrible. But he would come out of from behind his desk, and it's not even called a desk. I don't know what it's called. But he would meet you on the side, and you were allowed to speak to him in private. There were a lot of different excuses, a lot of different reasons that people didn't want to come back. A lot of people had family members on chemo. A lot of people were hourly employees and they couldn't get excusals. So we were going through people. We were really going through people. It took all day. I believe I got into that courtroom at 9 or 10 in the morning, went to lunch, came back, and they were excusing us, I believe maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. And there was one more person they needed to select, one more person. And every single one of them either had an excuse to leave, or the attorneys didn't like them and the attorneys excused them. Just about 5 minutes to 5 o'clock, they couldn't get a ninth person, and the judge said to us, listen, you guys, if we can't get a ninth person, you're all gonna have to come back tomorrow. So basically, man up, stop asking me to sidebar, we need a ninth person, just suck it up and somebody do this. They didn't get anybody. So we had to all come back the next day. So the next day, I get called. They're going through people. I got called on the quicker side. So I asked the judge, can I sidebar? Because I didn't feel comfortable saying this in front of everybody. The case that I would have been selected for jury was very similar to Adam's case, except he used instead of a. Otherwise, it was very, very similar. And it was bringing back really bad memories. Could I have possibly done it? Sure. And really, it may have been interesting to sit through the trial and to hear the process and to watch it all go on. But I had a little angel over my head saying, you can make a difference. And I had a little devil on his shoulder saying, could you actually do this to somebody else's family? Could you make somebody else go through what you're going through? And then I guess it was an angel and an angel, or a devil and a devil, depending on how you want to look at it, or an angel and a devil. But then on this side, I'm saying, but if I did that, I could also let a dangerous criminal go free. It was a really hard catch-22. So I said to the judge, may I sidebar you? And you always hear, oh, be a damsel in distress and cry. They'll think that you're not emotionally stable and they'll excuse you. And I didn't want to cry because that's not me. I'm not a cry. I am a crier when it's appropriate, but I'm strong and I can also button it up and I can suck it up and I can do it. But the judge comes out on the side. I am 4 steps away from him and the waterworks start flooding. So I said to him, my husband is serving a 213-year mandatory minimum sentence in the feds. And he said, do you think that'll affect your perspective of this case? He said, do you think that'll affect your opinion and your ability to stay neutral in this case? I said, unfortunately, yes, it will. He thought for a second and he said, fine, you're excused. So as I was leaving, I had to go grab all of my stuff. They called the next person. She went up there and they started to ask her questions. And he said to her, is there anything in your past that you feel could influence your decision to remain neutral in this? Has anything happened to you or anybody in your family? Have you been a victim of a crime or somebody in your family? And she said, yes. She said, my son was murdered 6 months ago. And they said, will that influence your decision? And she said, no. And they said, do you believe that you will be able to remain neutral? And she said, yes. She said, I believe in justice, and I believe that justice will be served for the person who did that to my son, and I believe justice will be served here, and I believe that they're not apples to apples. And the judge was wowed, and he commended her. And as I was walking out, I just felt my tail go between my legs as I cowered on out of there. And it winds up that the attorneys did not choose her, of course, because that probably could have influenced her decision, even if she didn't think that it did. But I thought of that mother, the strength that it must have taken for her to get up there and say that, when I watched this video of the son whose father is no longer with us, rushing that person that did that, and those two polar opposites. And I don't think I am that strong. I know right now I am not as strong and forgiving as that amazing, beautiful soul of a mother who lost her son. I'm probably, if I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, closer to this boy who rushed that stand. And part of me cannot blame him. But I have to say, it is my hope, and with everything within me, I aspire to be that forgiving and open up my heart as much as that mother. And that is the lesson that I want to pass along to you today. Love and forgiveness in the most excruciating, painful times of our life. That, you guys, is a miracle. I love you. Keep staying strong. Keep loving strong. Keep supporting one another through this journey, because you're one day closer to it all being behind you. Lots of love from my heart to yours. I will see you, beautiful ladies and gentlemen, in the next one. But in the meantime, I'm curious in the comments below your thoughts on this. Do you think you would behave like that son, or do you think you would behave more like the mother at jury duty? I would love to know your thoughts. I would love to know anything you want to say or comment about that. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.